You have been told that fruit is basically sugar and you should avoid it. You have also been told that fruit is natural and therefore safe to eat freely. You have read that tropical fruits are dangerous without being told which ones, why, or how much is too much. You are managing your blood sugar carefully. You are trying to do the right thing, and the information you have been given about fruit is genuinely contradictory. So you either avoid it entirely and miss fiber, vitamins, and compounds your body needs, or you eat it without strategy and wonder why your glucose numbers keep moving in the wrong direction. Neither of those outcomes is acceptable, and neither had to happen. If this channel has ever given you something worth knowing, hit that subscribe button right now, leave a like, and drop a comment below, because that is what keeps this kind of conversation reaching the people who genuinely need it. I'm Dr. Mercer, and this channel exists to bring you the latest evidence-based research on senior health, simplified and designed for adults over 60. Stay with me through this entire video, because by the end you will have a clear, science-based framework for understanding how fruit actually behaves in your body, which fruits support blood sugar control and which ones demand real caution, and why the form in which you consume fruit matters as much as which fruit you choose. Let's start by giving you the two tools that make everything else in this conversation make sense, because without them you are just memorizing a list. With them, you will be able to evaluate any fruit on your own. The first tool is the glycemic index, abbreviated GI. Think of it as a measure of speed, specifically how quickly the sugar from a particular food enters your bloodstream after eating. A GI above 70 means sugar arrives in a rapid wave, glucose spikes sharply, and your body has to mount a reactive response. A GI below 55 means sugar arrives gradually, like a slow steady tide. That gradual arrival is what you want. The second tool is the glycemic load, abbreviated GL. If GI is speed, GL is total volume. It tells you how much sugar actually lands in your bloodstream when you eat a realistic serving of that food, not a laboratory portion, a real one. A GL under 10 is considered safe. A GL above 20 is a significant concern. The rule to carry with you is this: for blood sugar management you want both a low GI and a low GL. One without the other is incomplete information. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition examining fruit consumption in over 20,000 adults with type 2 diabetes found that participants who ate whole fruit with low glycemic load scored on average had significantly lower HbA1c values compared to those who consumed fruit in juice or blended form, or who avoided fruit entirely. The key variable was not whether they ate fruit, it was how they ate it and which forms they chose. That finding matters because it means the conversation is not about whether to eat fruit, it is about eating the right fruits, in the right form, in the right amounts. Let me now walk you through the most important distinctions, starting with the mechanism that explains why some fruits support blood sugar control while others undermine it, regardless of how natural or healthy they appear. The first mechanism is the role of fiber as a physical barrier. When you eat a whole piece of fruit, the fiber within its structure physically slows the rate at which your digestive system breaks down and absorbs the fruit's sugars. The fiber creates a matrix that the gut works through gradually. Sugar reaches the bloodstream slowly, your available insulin can keep pace, glucose levels rise modestly and return to baseline without a sharp spike. When that fruit is juiced, blended, or dried, the fiber is either removed entirely or structurally disrupted. The sugars that were previously embedded in a slow release matrix now reach the bloodstream rapidly. A glass of orange juice contains the sugar equivalent of 2 to 3 whole oranges. You would rarely eat 3 whole oranges at one sitting. You drink them in under a minute. The fiber that would have slowed everything down has been left behind in the pulp. What reaches your bloodstream is a concentrated surge. A whole orange has a glycemic load of approximately 5. A standard glass of orange juice has a glycemic load that exceeds 20, which is the red zone for blood sugar management. They are not the same food. I had a patient I will call Gerard. He was 66, managed type 2 diabetes for 9 years, and his mid-morning glucose readings were consistently elevated despite a breakfast he considered healthy. When we reviewed his morning in detail, he was drinking a large glass of freshly squeezed orange juice every morning because it was natural, no added sugar, and felt like the right choice. We replaced the juice with a single whole orange eaten with breakfast. His mid-morning readings dropped by an average of 31 points over the following 3 weeks. Same fruit, completely different metabolic outcome determined entirely by form of consumption. The second mechanism is ripeness and starch conversion. As fruit ripens, its internal starch progressively converts to sugar. This is a continuous, predictable chemical process. A banana with a slightly green peel contains substantial resistant starch that is absorbed slowly and feeds beneficial gut bacteria. The same banana left to develop brown spots has converted most of that starch into rapidly absorbed glucose and fructose. Same fruit, same size, significantly different blood sugar outcome depending entirely on the state of ripeness when it is eaten. The third mechanism is the portion distortion problem that occurs with specific fruits. Certain fruits create a reliable psychological trap. You intend to eat 5 grapes, you eat one, then another, and the small size creates the sensation that nothing significant is happening. Before you register it, you have eaten 25 grapes and consumed the sugar equivalent of a chocolate bar. The problem is not purely in the fruit's biochemistry, it is in what that particular fruit consistently does to your sense of portion in practice. Before I give you the specific framework, I need to say something clearly. This video provides evidence-based nutritional guidance designed to support diabetes management as a complement to medical care, not to replace it. Do not use the information here to make changes to your medication, insulin dosing, or treatment plan without discussing it with your physician or diabetes educator first. Individual glucose responses to the same foods vary significantly based on your specific medication regimen, your degree of insulin resistance, your current HbA1c, and other individual factors. If you are managing type 1 diabetes, the guidance here is directionally relevant but should be implemented only in coordination with your endocrinologist. And if you have been advised by your physician to follow a specific dietary protocol for your diabetes management, that protocol takes precedence over anything in this video. Now, let me give you the framework for which fruits support blood sugar control and which require serious caution, built on GI and GL values for realistic serving sizes. Fruits that consistently combine low GI and low GL in real-world portions include fresh cherries, which have a GI of 27 and a GL of 6, making them as close to ideal as any fruit you can choose. They also contain anthocyanins and anti-inflammatory compounds that research has linked to reduced vascular inflammation, which matters enormously given that cardiovascular complications are the primary long-term concern in diabetes management. Strawberries have a GI of 41 and a GL of just 3, among the lowest glycemic loads of any fruit. They are also dense in anthocyanins, which directly support the integrity of the small blood vessels that supply the heart, kidneys, and retina, the structures most vulnerable to diabetic vascular damage over time. Apples have a GI of 36 and a GL of 6. They contain a soluble fiber called pectin that both slows sugar absorption and helps reduce LDL cholesterol, addressing cardiovascular risk alongside blood sugar simultaneously. Eat them with the skin, which is where the majority of the pectin and antioxidant compounds concentrate. Pears have a GI of 38 and a GL of 4, with a critical caveat. A significant portion of the pear's fiber is concentrated in and just beneath the skin. Peeling a pear removes a meaningful proportion of its protective structure. Eat it whole with the skin intact. Peaches have a GI of 42 and a GL of 4, genuinely one of the most forgiving fruits available for blood sugar management, sweet enough to satisfy a craving, low enough in their glycemic impact to be a consistent safe choice. Guava has an extraordinarily low GI of 23 and a GL of 3, for context. White bread has a GI of approximately 75, a guava and a slice of white bread create completely different blood sugar responses and can cost comparable amounts. Kiwi has a GI of 38 and a GL of 9. It is particularly valuable because it is dense in vitamins C and E, which research has linked to reduced blood pressure, relevant given that approximately 2/3 of people with type 2 diabetes also develop hypertension. Plums have a GI of 39 and a GL of 5. Reliably sweet and safely low in glycemic load. Passion fruit has a GI of 27 and a GL of 5, and contains natural compounds that support sleep quality. This matters for blood sugar because a single night of poor sleep can measurably raise fasting glucose the following morning through increased insulin resistance. Now for the fruits that demand serious caution, not because they are forbidden, but because they consistently create problems when eaten without specific attention to portion and preparation. Bananas have a GI of 62 and a GL of 16. They are nutritious, affordable, and genuinely beneficial in many ways. but that GL of 16 means a standard banana delivers 8 times the blood sugar load of an avocado. If you want to eat bananas, choose those with some green still in the peel, and eat half alongside a protein source such as eggs or Greek yogurt. Grapes have a GI of 61 and a GL of 12, but the real problem with grapes is behavioral. The small size and refreshing quality make consistent portion limitation genuinely difficult in practice. If you choose grapes, count out 10 before you begin. Never eat directly from the bunch. Mango has a GI of 56 and a GL of 14. There is a widespread belief that adding chia seeds or flax seeds to a mango smoothie makes it safe for blood sugar management. That belief is incorrect in an important way. The seeds slow the rate of sugar absorption, which is the GI effect, but the total glycemic load, the volume of sugar your body must process, is entirely unchanged. You have stretched the timeline of the burden, not reduced the burden itself. Think of it as paying a debt in smaller installments rather than one lump sum. The debt does not change. Pineapple has a GI of 59 and a GL of 14. It has a strong wellness reputation and real nutritional benefits. None of that changes what your pancreas experiences when it processes the sugar load. Half a cup maximum, not a bowl. Papaya has a GI of 58 and a GL of 10, sitting exactly at the boundary of what is considered safe. Small portions alongside protein, not as a daily staple. Beyond the individual fruits, there are two categories that create problems regardless of which fruit they involve. The first is dried fruit. Drying a fruit removes the water that dilutes its sugar concentration while leaving all the sugar behind. Now compressed into a small volume, a small handful of raisins carries the glycemic load of multiple whole grapes. The GL of dried fruit regularly exceeds 30. For adults managing blood sugar, dried fruit is not a fruit choice, it is a concentrated sugar delivery. The second is any form of juice or blending that disrupts the fiber matrix. Freshly squeezed, organic, no added sugar, and still a problem because the issue is not what was added, the issue is what was removed. The fiber that was the protection. I want to tell you about a patient I will call Dorothy. She was 71, had been managing type 2 diabetes for 12 years, and came in frustrated that her post-meal readings remained high despite what she described as a clean diet. When we reviewed her daily food intake in detail, she was having a fruit smoothie every morning made with mango, banana, and orange juice as the base liquid, believing this was a healthy start to her day. All three ingredients were in a form that stripped or disrupted fiber. We redesigned her breakfast to include 2 eggs and 1 piece of whole fruit from the low glycemic list. Within 2 weeks her post-breakfast readings had dropped by an average of 28 points, her HbA1c improved by 0.4 points at her 3-month review. No medication change was made, the intervention was a change in fruit form and selection. Here is exactly what to do. Step 1. Beginning tomorrow morning, look at your breakfast and identify any juice, smoothie, or blended fruit present. Replace it with 1 whole fruit from the low glycemic list, eaten intact with its skin where applicable. Step 2. Write down your current fruit choices and identify whether they are being consumed whole, juiced, blended, or dried. Bring that list to your next diabetes educator or physician appointment. Step 3. At that appointment ask specifically whether your current HbA1c trend could be influenced by the form in which you are consuming fruit, and ask your care team to review your fruit choices alongside your glucose log data. Step 4. If you currently eat fruit without tracking its impact, begin checking your blood glucose 90 minutes after eating specific fruits for 1 week, noting which ones produce a notable rise and which do not. Bring those observations to your next appointment as concrete data. Step 5. Ask your physician or diabetes educator whether adding a protein source alongside fruit at each consumption occasion would be appropriate for your specific medication regimen and whether it might reduce your post-fruit glucose response. One important clarification before we close: the glycemic index and glycemic load values discussed in this video represent average responses measured in controlled studies. Individual glucose responses to the same foods vary meaningfully from person to person based on gut microbiome composition, current medication, degree of insulin resistance, the other foods eaten at the same meal, and individual metabolic variation. A fruit listed as low glycemic load may still produce a significant glucose rise in some individuals depending on these factors. Self-monitoring remains the most reliable guide to your individual responses. This framework is a starting point for better decision-making, not a guaranteed outcome for every person. Additionally, watermelon deserves a specific mention because it is frequently misunderstood. Its GI is high at above 70, which looks alarming, but because watermelon is 92% water. A standard portion of approximately 120 grams contains very little actual sugar, producing a GL of approximately 4. In a measured portion, watermelon is manageable for most adults with diabetes. The real risk with watermelon is behavioral, not biochemical. Very few people eat one measured cup and stop. The refreshing quality and typically large availability at a sitting makes consistent portion discipline genuinely difficult. Only you know whether that description applies to you. Fruit is not the enemy. The absence of clear information has been the problem. You now have the tools to evaluate any fruit based on how it actually behaves in your body, not based on whether it sounds healthy or natural or tropical. If this video gave you something useful, hit the like button right now. Leave a comment telling me which fruit you will add to your breakfast tomorrow and which one you plan to eat with more caution going forward, and share this with someone you care about who is managing blood sugar and has received the same contradictory advice about fruit that has left so many people either avoiding it entirely or eating it without any strategy at all. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in the next one. Take good care of yourselves.